Hello and welcome to 2014. I'm very excited about what we have planned. Hopefully you had a happy new year and an awesome holiday season. The purpose of this video is to help you with understanding what I need you to do with students for their articles of the week. This is going to be a simple demonstration. If you're a language arts teacher, by far I am not exceeding expectations on this at all. This is just a simple demonstration so that we have a starting point for each of the content areas. You may certainly go above and beyond what you see me do today, but this is a baseline so that all of our content areas are able to demonstrate and actually see what the students should do. Today I'm going to read an article with you. And unfortunately, I'm going to read it aloud so that you can watch the process that the students should go through as they are annotating a text. And hopefully for the rest of this video, I will remain off camera, but you'll be able to watch what I'm doing on the paper to help you to better understand how to model this for students. On January the 6th, it is not the expectation that you will have students working on this article, because the students haven't seen it yet and we haven't taught them what we expect of it yet. But it is the expectation that you will spend this time during this week modeling for them what should be expected as they move into future articles of the week. So I want them to have a hand in it. And if you're a language arts teacher and your students are already well versed at doing this, then feel free to let them go forward with it. If your students have not done this before for you, then you do want to make sure that they have the skills to be successful before you ask them to do it independently. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by showing you what is a very loose version of what the 6th grade team is using for their ink process. This annotation process is going to be one of the things that are non-negotiable as far as the articles are concerned. I'm going to use the Inkthink. However, one of the differences, or one of the things that I'm going to make sure to add to that, is everything that I indicate on my paper, I'm going to also have to explain. So it's not going to be where I just put a symbol down and then move forward. I have to put a symbol down and then explain that so that later on when I reference it, I know exactly what I was speaking of at that time. So we've got several steps here. Some of them I've left off of the 6th grade Inkthink, some of them I've added. But what I'm going to do is go through this with you. As you can see, step 1 is to box your title and predict what the text is about. So I'm going to box my title right now. The text is called Are You a Loser? That's the title of our text. So I'm going to box that in real quickly. The second part asks me to predict what this is about. And having read just Are You a Loser? That sounds to me, if it's for middle school students, like it may have something to do with possibly a bullying situation or name calling or something to that effect. I'm going to read further, and it says, great, because studies show that if you want to be a success, you need to know how to fail. Okay, so then I can learn from that statement then really what this is talking about. The purpose that for me to read is going to be to learn how to succeed even when I experience failure. And you guys, please pardon my handwriting. I know that it's less than standard. So I'm going to go into this article with a purpose, and that's going to be thinking that this article is going to be talking to me about how I can be successful even when I experience failure. The second thing on the Inkthink is for me to number the paragraph, so I'm going to do that now. And the reason that we are doing the video this way is so that it's easier for you to see my writing when I do it upside down than if the camera is actually standing over me. So I've just numbered my paragraphs. Later on, I will use these numbers to help me reference when I'm citing textual evidence. So I'm going to begin reading right now, and pardon the fact that I'm reading aloud to a group of adults, but I do want you to see what this looks like when the kids are doing it, and I also want you to feel comfortable being able to do this same process with your students. So let me start back from the title. Are you a loser? Great, because studies show that if you want to be a success, you need to know how to fail. What's the secret of success? Is it having loads of money, good luck, great teeth? Sure, cash, luck, and a nice smile can't hurt, but many social scientists agree that what successful people have in common is this: they were failures. I'm going to put a surprise here because I think that it's also kind of a question. How can successful people have also failed. So that's going to be a question. As I'm annotating this article, what I'm doing is actually monitoring my comprehension. I'm making sure that I fully understand what I'm reading by writing in the margins and documenting the thoughts that I have with myself. There's George Washington, the top general of American troops in the Revolutionary War, who lost 2 huge battles and was nearly fired. Really? I didn't know George Washington was almost fired. And Mr. Gibson, yeah, you're right. I don't know my history. There's Steve Jobs, who developed a slew of failed products. Now, what I like about this article is most of the difficult vocabulary is already bolded. So I'm just going to circle that. And then I'm going to draw a line over to remind myself to check on what the meaning of that might be. First, I'm going to reread the sentence. There's Steve Jobs, who developed a slew of failed products and even got canned from Apple. These 2 words, I want to find out more about what that means before returning to change the world with the iPod, iPhone, and iPad. But right now, I'm not sure what slew and got canned mean, but I'm still able to comprehend that he came back and he also developed the iPod, iPhone, and iPad. The list goes on from Katy Perry and Hall of Fame basketball legend Michael Jordan to Glee star Chris Koffler. The majority of today's most successful people were at one time losers. They were dropped from record labels, cut from basketball teams, or bullied in school. They felt humiliated, lost, and hopeless. This is a connection that I can make, and I'm sure that our kids can make this connection as well. This reminds me of many times when I was in school and as an adult. And I think that what they're saying right now is that although these people have experienced failure, they did not dwell in the failure. They actually became successful because they were able to persevere. And so I think that this article is going to be about how to persevere even when things seem tough. But they eventually figured out how to move forward. And that is the key skill, the ability to dust yourself off and try again and again. That's very important. So I'm going to put a star here. That's important information. And that goes to what I was saying earlier about perseverance. Experts call this resilience. Wow. So that's another word. And it says here that resilience means being able to recover from setbacks. I'm going to make a connection right there. My mom always says my brother and I are too resilient. Being able to recover from setbacks. This is what turns losers into winners. Okay. Experts say that in terms of future success, resilience is more important than brains and talent. That's going to be a wow. So that tells me that even if I'm not the smartest person, I can keep trying and be successful. Again, excuse my handwriting. So the next time you fail a test or strike out at bat or sing off key, don't give up. That's how we grow, says Dr. Amy Feinberger, an Alabama educator who specializes in psychology. We grow by pushing beyond the limits of what we can do today. Again, that's important. Push beyond the limits. I like how she said that. Ask Miranda of Williamsburg, Virginia, who still cringes, and I know what cringes means. I'm going to circle it anyway because this article has highlighted it, when recalling her early experiences with karate. She started when she was 7, and for years she lost every competition she entered. It was devastating, Miranda says. Dejected, she decided to quit. This reminds me of a scene in Men on Fire when Dakota Fanning actually was getting down on herself because she wasn't winning, and Denzel taught her more about how she could hone in on what the skill was that she was missing so that she could become a winner. Dejected, she didn't quit, she decided to quit, except she didn't. At the urging of her father, she reluctantly gave it one more try. She worked a little harder, and she improved. She kept at it and improved even more. Miranda never became the champion she dreamed of becoming, but she stuck with it long enough to earn her black belt by the age of 12. I could easily have said I'm a failure. I should have never tried, she says, but I'm really proud that I kept at it. Okay, so this reminds me of, you know what, this I need to have this thinking. The experience taught Miranda that she could fail, feel upset and dejected, and still go on to succeed. And that's what many educators and psychologists believe every kid and teen needs to do. That's very important. And I'm just going to write down here, I agree. That's right. They want you to fail. And learn not to give up. Learn this while you're young, and you'll be able to handle life's bigger challenges later on. Miranda would agree. Today, at 17, she's finally winning medals at Irish step dancing. When she first started, she was bad at that too. So this is the second time. She was also bad at karate. And now she's bad at Irish step dancing. But her experience in Taekwondo built her up her resilience muscles. So she didn't see her struggles in dance as failures. She saw them as part of the process of achieving success. And I like what that says. This reminds me of last week's sermon at church, which is life is a journey. And the process is about the process and not necessarily always outcomes. Life is a journey. Miranda is just one person in a long line of people to figure that out. One of history's proudest failures was the inventor Thomas Edison. In fact, the first 1,000 times that Edison tested the light bulb he created, the invention didn't work. But he never gave up and did eventually build a functional light bulb. Asked once what it felt like to fail 1,000 times, Edison responded, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was invented with 1,000 steps." I think that's an amazing perspective. That must have required a lot of patience. Edison is an example of someone who was naturally resilient. He looked at his failures as situations that he could fix. How resilient are you? Say you do poorly on a test in school and you realize you didn't study enough the night before. Do you say, "I messed up on the test because I watched Modern Family instead of studying"? If this is you, then how to move on is obvious. Turn off the TV and study harder to get a better grade. Or are you less resilient and the type of person who believes your failures are caused by something you're helpless to change? Would you say, "I failed the test because I have a zero talent in math"? Or "I didn't make the basketball team because the coach hates me"? With this type of thinking, changes seem impossible to make. So why even try? Okay, so I see that they're comparing two different people, and this reminds me two different types of people. And this reminds me of the book called Mindset that talks about whether you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. This would be a fixed, and this would be a growth. This one thinks, what can I do better? And this one thinks it's somebody else's fault or that there's nothing they can do differently. The good news, studies show that with practice, people can change their way of thinking, just like you can rewrite the lines of a movie script. You can rewrite what you tell yourself when times are tough. And I don't want to keep this all biblical. But this reminds me of a sermon when we talked about say the right thing. And this was about yourself, about your life. It takes practice, but it's worth it. Just ask Michael Jordan. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career, he says. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Again, this is very interesting, his perspective. So if I were thinking about what